Jeff and Paige, welcome to the podcast. Woohoo!
Hi. Thank you so much for having us. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm excited to talk to each of you. I love the creative energy that you put out into the world, and I love the emphasis that you take in. So I'm excited to have you both on the podcast. And we always like to get the show started with a little bit of background on who you are and how you got to be doing what you're doing. So I'll let one of you take it from there, and then maybe the other, or you guys have a combined story. Happy to hear it all.
We've told this story a lot recently.
Yeah.
And I have some different entry points that I like to use. Do you want to be the starter or should I?
I'll be the starter. Okay, we're Jeff and Paige. Here we are now in Boulder, Colorado. We are a husband and wife children's musical duo. We focus on science, nature, and sustainability through live music and theater. I'm going to start in graduate school.
Oh, that's where I was going to start.
Okay. Paige and I met in graduate school, and don't think of graduate school as a building, because our graduate school was a biodiesel school bus.
And it was the natural world.
Yes.
We're standing under stars, beneath redwoods. We're singing. We're learning about salmon populations by visiting dams.
Mm-hmm. We are camping outdoors. Our bus has been converted into a roving combination living space and library with camping gear and cook stoves. And that was a 2-year program on the road where we kind of, fell in love with the natural world, fell in love with each other. Although that came a little bit later.
It came a little later. We were friends then. We were just friends.
And then we moved to Boulder, Colorado.
Not at the same time, though. Yeah, not at the same time. I have to go back to the natural world and the graduate school, because this is the part of the story that I started to tell a little more recently.
Okay.
What we learned there in graduate school was we were going to school for environmental education, Master of Science degrees, by the way. We wanted to figure out how to take the joy that we were experiencing by being in nature and translate that into teaching. So not just talking about all of the problems, but marrying some of the issues that we face as a human culture with the joy of being in nature, and recognizing, for me, and this was the part that I told recently that I realized I hadn't really revisited, I was really, really depressed.
I was upset as well.
I was so depressed. And I remember coming back from a break actually and seeing you, and it's going to make me cry almost, but Jeff walked up to me, and he's just, my friend, and he just said, "Wow, Dodie, you're really carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, aren't you?" And I just broke down. And it was a foundational moment in our friendship, and for me, in realizing that there's no way I could go out from this program and teach children or high schoolers, which at the time I was planning to teach and did for a while, that here's all these problems. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Should we pause a second? I mean, we could just go for an hour and you could call it good.
No, I want more. No, please continue.
So,
all right. Well, then, so in graduate school, we ended up both moving to Boulder for various reasons. And I was working for the Open Space and Mountain Parks Department. Our great friend and kind of benefactor, if you will, Steve Mertz. He is with the City of Boulder's Open Space and Mountain Parks. He let us lead programs for the general public. And I was 25 years old and was all full of fire coming out of this graduate program. I was like, what if and I've been, of course, playing guitar. I was like, what if I started leading a short hike into Chautauqua Meadow here in Boulder and inviting families, and we'll hike to a beautiful place and do 20 minutes of classic children's tunes. And that program it began in the summer of 2005. This will be the 18th season of that coming up. Meadow music is still rocking in Boulder. It has changed from, a handful of families, 10 to 15 people in the first season, to more like 600 to 700 people. Free program out in Chautauqua Meadow, sponsored still by the Open Space and Mountain Parks Department. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah,
I know you want to jump in so badly.
You're going deep on these details, but I like it. Just did we mention we're married?
This is the story.
I like the details too.
We're so married, like you couldn't imagine how married we are. Everything.
So anyway,
wait. All right. Okay, it was becoming Jeff and Paige was not on the radar. It was very much about sharing love of science and nature through just being in a beautiful place. But after that first season, or midway through it, I was like, I'm singing classic children's music, Bingo, or Row Row Your Boat, or songs about African mammals, and it just doesn't connect to sitting in the Front Range of Colorado. So I started writing songs about the plants and animals and ecology of the area where we were sitting, and started trying to present them to those families. And for the most part, the performances bombed, but it was a free program, so people clapped anyway. I'll pause.
So one of the ways that we've like gotten where we are now that Jeff's highlighting is partnerships. We would not be here at all if it weren't for the initial partnering organization, Open Space and Mountain Parks, who remains one of our most wonderful partners in this community. And through their support of having the structure in place for us to start offering these programs and transform them into what has now become Jeff and Paige programs, we've been able to offer those programs for free to the public. Now, very important thing here for any other artists watching, we get paid. I've had a few different people who've reached out and asked us like how that works. And it's been wonderful to offer free programs to the public, but we get paid for that by the sponsoring organization. Just a little aside, because it's been coming up recently.
Do you think artists deserve to be paid?
Do artists deserve? Yes, I do.
A little bit.
So to go back to like our story and how we became Jeff and Paige, I moved to Boulder shortly after Jeff, and I actually had already lived here, so I was kind of returning here after a hiatus, and we started working together. We took that passion that we had found for education in the natural world, and we had a lot of deep, real, intense conversations as educators about how can we do this? How can we be different? How can we not inspire apathy? And how do we find age appropriate ways to talk to children from as young as, infants and toddlers all the way up to 5th grade about the natural world and the problems that we face, but start with joy and start with connection. And that has been through music and movement and theater and live performances. And at this point, we offer a variety of programs, from in-school programs all the way up to 5th grade, to sometimes even working with older kids doing songwriting workshops and talking more about our path and how we did this, kind of what we're talking about right now. And then additionally, smaller classes and workshops and things through the Jeff and Paige Nature Explorers membership.
Mm-hmm. And of course, public events, libraries, museums, nature centers, open meadows, festivals. This is our full-time work, and we live in Boulder, Colorado. So we're rocking it. Our business is rocking.
Yeah, I'm rocking with you. Sco Buffs. I love it here. And I hope we start with joy, continue with joy, and just never give the joy up. Before we leave the kind of background story, I'd love to hear how each of you became so infatuated with the natural world. Like back before the meeting.
That's good.
I knew Paige was, and I wanted to date her, so I just kind of...
That's definitely not true.
Go ahead. I can, or do you want me to go first?
Either way. I have my answer on the tip of my tongue. So I think I had to write an essay in graduate school, actually, about who my first nature mentor was. And I realized that it was my grandmother. So I wrote this essay that brought up all these beautiful memories that I had of my my grandmother and being with her at her lake place. She had, and our family still has, my grandmother's passed, a cottage on Lake Ontario, and just being with her in the garden and having wonder and exploration in the nearby woods and being really small. And that was my first experience of nature and loving nature and interacting with it, and not from such a scientific place, but just of wonder. And then I kind of feel like, and I think this happens to a lot of children, and it's part of why we do this work. I think that that's easy to just drop that, and that gets cut. And you go to school and you're inside and you're under fluorescent lights all day and you watch cartoons and you do your homework and you go to bed and like rinse and repeat. And that was definitely my experience. My family wasn't like super into nature. I mean, definitely like more of the like, we're driving over a mountain pass. Hey kids, look out the window. Isn't it pretty? Let's keep going. But not get out, touch the rock, feel the cold, go camping. So for me, when we, and again, we're separate humans that don't know each other at this point in our lives, but I started our experiential graduate program where I made a commitment to live outdoors for these 3 semesters. I was terrified. Like, I had never done anything like that before. And I was like, when I say terrified, I mean like on the level of like panic attacks happening about like, how am I going to do this? Like overpacking, overthinking all my gear, just like
That you're choosing to do for something
but
that
I'm
you want to
choosing
do.
it. Yes, I'm choosing to do it, but
Paying tuition to do it.
I'm paying a lot of money to do it, actually. And then I jumped off that cliff, and it was a transformational experience. I mean, and that's also what's hooked me into wanting to offer this to other people, and from babies to adults, is that it was just like, oh my gosh, I have been completely shut down to the natural world and all that it has to offer, and all that it has to offer as a mirror into my soul, if you will, of being a part of this beautiful planet. And how can I've been out here trying to teach kids about climate change or these problems without recognizing this big connection I have. So that's my answer.
For me, it was there's a book some listeners may have read called A Walk in the Woods. It's Bill Bryson. He is completely unprepared, but he's a writer and he wants to see what it's like to hike the Appalachian Trail. And he and his bumbling buddy go out and just do it. And I read that at a very influential time in my life. I think was just nearing the end of my first year of college, 19 years old, didn't have a plan for the summer, and had 2 friends in a similar situation. We were like, let's do that. And we very much followed the bumbling aspect of the book. We didn't do the entire AT, which for those who don't know, goes all the way from Maine to Georgia or vice versa.
Long.
Yeah, it's long. It's a 5 to 6 month thing. We did the entire section of Maine. It was extremely challenging physically and mentally. It really, really affected me in ways that I still don't quite understand, just being cut off from all the things that you grow up with, a comfortable bed, climate control, electronics, even just the ability to communicate with other people, just being in the woods. So we were there for 1 month, and it was enough for me to want to repeat the experience the following summer. So went to the other side of the country and did a trail called the John Muir Trail through the Sierras in Northern California. And that is really when it was still challenging, but it was breathtaking. I'd never seen above tree line, the high alpine environment. I'd never been to the West before, and hiking through those mountains it still changes me today. I can feel like this rippling tingle go through my body as I think about that trip and living outdoors for a full month.
And can I make like another, maybe I'm like hammering the nail on the head too many times, but just to make that connection between, we're doing our kids and ourselves a disservice if we try to jump into all these environmental issues, and from the smallest things to the like plastic bottles to the largest, lens of climate change, without making those nature connections and without us remembering and understanding why. Like, why do we care?
Exactly.
And it's bigger than just like a fish might die. It's deep. The deep tingling.
The tingle is like,
connection.
This isn't something apart from me. I am here. I am in this, and this is
me.
Exceptional and beautiful. And and then coming out of that and going back to, being a junior at Michigan State, doing, science classes, trying to remain competitive for medical school, was just, so then it kind of turned into more of, how do I take that and not feel disassociated from nature and feel upset at my existence on this
also
planet?
Part of it too, right?
And that
I'm totally gonna interrupt you. Grab your guitar. Let's play. Can we play you a little song?
We got plenty of time. Let's hit it.
I want you to play a little bit of Grandma Gatewood.
Oh, all right.
So I just realized, like, sometimes we do these interviews and we talk all the time about how we sing music, and then we forget to like actually show what we do.
This is awesome. This is such a treat. This is such a treat for me. I'm talking about science all the time. Like, let's sing some songs.
Toss a log on the campfire, Ethan.
So this song is called Grandma Gatewood. And what album is it on, Jeff?
It is on our album Mighty Wolf.
We do have 6 albums and a 7th one coming out sometime next year. Mm-hmm. And this song is about Grandma Gatewood. And what's her full name?
Emma Rowena Gatewood, the first woman to hike the entirety of the Appalachian Trail.
But she did not just hike it one time. She hiked it 3 times. And the first time she hiked it, Ethan, she was 67 years old.
We'll give you a verse 1 and chorus 1 of Grandma Gatewood. Okay. At the age of 67, in 1955, this mother of 11 kids somehow got the drive
to hike the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine.
2,000 rugged miles of terrain. With a pair of Keds sneakers laced up good and tight,
and an army blanket, not some mummy sleeping bag at night.
A homemade backpack and a shower curtain for a tent. The pioneer of the ultralight movement was Grandma Gatewood. Grandma Gatewood. What gave you the notion to set your feet in motion? Did the spirit of the wild set you free? You sure put the grand in Grandma to me. Let's end on a 7th chord.
Thanks, Ethan.
No, thank you. What I want to say is, I just get, and I wanted to relate this back to the idea of nature as well, because what really is this connection, this tingling that you're talking about, the feeling I get when I listen to you play your music, it just reminds me of the word like love. And I talk about self-giving love and enlightened self-interest. And what is that? I really think when people are in love, they create more people. When you're in nature, nature is constantly in motion and creating more and more beautiful things. And that's kind of what it's like, what's the meaning of life? I always say it's about love. And like, what is love? It's about giving back more than you take. It's about creating something new. That's my response to your. Also, you guys kill it on the backstory. Like, I bring people on who are like representatives of corporations, and I tell them to tell me about themselves, and they give me like a 2-minute quick thing. And I love how you guys are the business. So I love how we just went into like 20 minutes of backstory.
Yeah, I'm always like, oh no, how much do you want to know?
We love Jeff and Paige.
Yeah. No.
Ethan, thanks for that response. That was really beautiful,
yeah.
And I think you get it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I try my best to get it. That's kind of like the whole beginning of the podcast. Like, who are these people? Why are they doing this thing? So now we'll kind of dive into the more of like the day-to-day stuff. I'm I am wondering how you communicate these really scientifically complex and anxiety driven issues to people who are very young and who will be the kind of the future leaders who are dealing with not only the repercussions of the decisions that we make today, but kind of forging their own path and creating this new world. So when it comes to, of course, we think of climate change, I'm really personally concerned, and I'm sure you guys are as well, about biodiversity loss, which I don't think is brought up enough in the public sphere. So how do you go about like communicating this stuff in a joyful and loving way when it's so serious and anxiety prone?
That's a great question. I think biodiversity isn't something we've addressed specifically. Do we have a song that talks about biodiversity? You think about that while I answer. But I think we do address biodiversity just in that we create interest in creatures. So we have a new song on our album coming out that's about invertebrates, and I'm terrible at remembering numbers, especially on the spot. So you just correct me, but
97.
Thank you. 97% of life on Earth is invertebrates. And they are literally like the backbone of everything that we do. And ironically,
without having one,
they don't have. Thank you. You got it. A backbone. Good job, Ethan.
I totally
I'm impressed.
missed that.
Right. So we start with the curiosity and the interest, and it's not fast, right? This process of educating a child, but we can't tell a 3-year-old or frankly even a 7-year-old to go deal with climate change, but we can get them interested in those species and start to teach them care and love. And so it's why I love that you said love, because it's really teaching that love and taking the tinglies and bringing it into a theater or a library or a classroom, or through our Jeff and Paige Science and Nature show live at home, right into people's living rooms. So that's one piece of that answer. And then the second piece is that we are still, and in a new way, exploring how to get a little more real about the issues that we're facing. But a lot of that education, it's not targeted at the kids, it's targeted at the parents. So I'm in the next few months going to start a workshop series for parents called How to Talk with Our Kids About Climate Change. And in so doing, I'm going to actually be educating parents about climate change, and how to start to create a cycle of hope rather than a cycle of apathy. Because that's where we get stuck, right? We go back to the beginning of our origin story of I'm 26 years old and I'm just like so depressed I can barely get off my couch because I've steeped myself in environmental issues, and that's happening for our children earlier and earlier. That's where, especially after the pandemic and everything everybody's been through, that's where some of our 6th and 7th graders are right now. Do you want to add anything?
Briefly, in answer, how do we communicate that? I will say we use characters and we use solutions. So an example, like instead of highlighting habitat loss, we will have Paige will be playing the monarch butterfly, and in the breakdown of that song, she'll mention that it's hard to do, a migration from one part of the world to the other.
I need a rest stop, baby, it's a long way back. I need to take a little break and eat a milkweed snack. But it's difficult to find relaxing spots with all these buildings and these roads and these parking lots. But migration doesn't need to be oh so hard. Grow a butterfly garden in your backyard.
Yeah. So, and then the butterfly will highlight that, here's one simple thing you can do, but Paige is dressed up as a butterfly doing it. And like, we're embodying these characters. We're at a show where, there's a backbeat behind that, and we're communicating the messages, but we're using theater and we're using music to do it. And we're not sticking on that problem of highlighting that there's buildings and roads and parking lots everywhere, and the butterfly is not able to make its migration. We're highlighting, here's one simple thing you could do, plant this particular plant, milkweed, that a butterfly needs for its migration. That's just one example. And we do that throughout, I would say, 2/3 of our songs and skits have something along that line where it touches on an issue, but it highlights the solution. And it's us as a character communicating that instead of just Jeff and Paige standing up here and
Right.
talking to you or singing
Right.
to you.
And that's the part that I actually think works for all ages. So, the parents that are there paying attention tell us all the time, I learned so much today. I had no idea about this or that or the other thing. And you taught me about that. So I think that's also a unique part of our offering for our community and beyond is we're educating and supporting the whole family. So we're interacting with the kids and they love us because we're goofy and we have costumes on and glasses and we're open and here and present. And then we're also having a higher level interaction with parents. And that's especially recently something we've, again, gotten just more and more clear on as we face some of the challenges of the pandemic. And we've launched the Jeff and Paige Nature Explorers membership. And we're really trying to create a resilient community through the work that we do so that people feel less alone.
Cool.
And we also want to give parents a break too with our content, live
that's part of it too.
I definitely want to talk about the membership opportunity right after this, but I do want to ask a bit about the creative process that you both have kind of undergone and continue to go. And I love, and then this energy is just flowing through you at all times. You're the type of people who can just easily break out into song and dance at any time. And I feel like I'm that kind of guy too, but I don't like sing. I can go into like a rant about what it means to live a meaningful life and how to have purpose. Like that's like I was a philosophy minor at CU. So like that's like my thing. I can get really into that kind of stuff and having like a vision and that kind of thing. So you're both really obviously have this strong connected to nature. And Paige, you've mentioned several times how in the past you've felt really bogged down with strong negative emotions. Is it right to say that you've turn these powerful emotions and feelings you have into your art? Or I would kind of love to hear more about like the creative process and where the songs come from and how you use these strong feelings and connections that you have to make things.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go and then I'll pass the microphone to you, Jeff. But for sure, this whole joy is like, it's the circle again, was born from depression and doomsday. Like, and I for your East Coast listeners, I had a short stint in Boston right after all these magical big nature experiences. And Boston is a lovely place, but it was a very difficult place for me to be after being, it was a just city, just concrete everywhere after being in the forest. And so I went really dark there to the point that I was like, I mean, and I'm going to kind of make fun of myself right now, but I think this is something that a lot of people experience. But like, I was picking up like, what is this? This is plastic and metal. Like this was mined from the earth. Like everything that I touch is just like doom and destruction. And like, I can't even breathe. I'm just killing something. And I mean, like it was really rough. It was really rough. I remember holding a fork and like kind of having an out of body experience of like crying and holding a fork and then being like, wow.
I vibe with that so hard.
Something's got to shift. And so I think hitting those low places, they are important as long as we get support and help. And I had the support and help of being in this program and having wonderful friends like Jeff and where I went, where do you go from there? It's either like, just it's all over. We're totally doomed. We're a cancer on the planet. That's all that we can ever be. Or you get up and do something. And so my get up and do something was, one step at a time, one foot forward after the other. How do I find joy? And finding joy has been in the creation of the music and bringing the joy through the music and through the performance to the kids. And then to look out into the audience and see those eyes shining back at you and to feel the oneness, if you will, and that love that you're talking about, Ethan, of I'm not alone. There are all these other people here with me. We can do something and we have no other choice but to. So let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
The creative process for you,
I could just briefly say I will write the songs. I will very deliberately, sometimes, in most cases, choose like, okay, I want a song. We need a song on our next album about beavers. I will usually check out books from the children's section of the library to see how other people, what facts they're communicating and how they're putting it across, and then take notes and use the notes that I've taken to very slowly start working on how the song will be structured. Um, and it's not an immediate process. It's usually on solo time, which is less and less as a parent for anyone with kids knows. Um, but often on short hikes, and then presenting it to Paige. And sometimes she's my wife and my business partner, but I'm still even nervous sometimes to present it to her because I know she's going to put her own spin onto it. She's going to change it. We're going to figure out how we make it both a performance piece for two and how we're going to translate it live to kids.
And the messaging. I mean, yeah. I'm very much the one that's like, I ask a lot of questions about how we're telling about something and what the result of how we tell about that is going to be. Mm-hmm. And it's so nuanced, like what we do behind the scenes. It's hard to, I sometimes wish I could like record one of our meetings just for someone to understand how much work goes into every word that we say on stage and how it's said and what perspective we're embodying and is it respectful and all of these pieces.
Yeah. No, that's essential. I mean, people always see the polished final product and you're like, man, they make it look so easy. But I think anyone who's put a lot of hard work into something knows that it's never easy. And you know what? I always say this, like, if it was easier, if we had all the answers today, like, what else are we going to do? You know, we just have nothing else to do. So I think it's really valuable to have challenge and continue to try and grow. So why don't you share with the audience the Jeff and Paige membership options and what you're kind of offering with that? And that's pretty new, isn't it?
Yes, it is new. So the membership was something we had in the works in 2019, and then the pandemic hit and the shutdown happened. And as I'm sure your listeners and viewers can imagine, and maybe have experienced themselves, we're live performance artists. It was devastating to our business. So this sort of seed that we had just starting to like plant roots, grow roots, became the thing that we were doing. And we took everything online. And now that was one iteration. And then last June 2021, we launched the new and what is the current version of our membership. So it is a weekly invitation. Our members receive a weekly invitation to explore science and nature at home or in the classroom, if you're a teacher or a homeschooler. And that invitation comes in 3 different ways, either as a music video with a printable. The other way is that we do 1 video a month where we are really goofy and silly and we do like a science experiment. Oh, I wish you could demonstrate the ping pong one we just did. We just did an air pressure one that's really simple with a straw and a ping pong ball. But we take this little hands-on thing and then we explore all the science behind it.
And then invite the kids to do the same.
And then the kids
teach you how to do it.
The kids have received the video, so that's the invitation. And then the idea is that they do it then at home or in the classroom. And then the third piece of our membership offering is let me get it right. Can you say it right now?
Jeff and Paige Live Science and Nature at Home.
No? That's not it.
What is it?
The Jeff and Paige Science and Nature Show live at home. We've been tweaking this so much, Ethan, because this is the piece that I think is the most loved by our members so far. It's a 45-minute live streamed show where we're live with the kids and we're doing activities with them, and they've gathered their materials at home and we have ours. And so we're actually physically doing something together. But then we also have the rest of the show is just entertaining songs and music and bits that we do. We always have a kid interview or a guest star who comes on. We recently hosted Hop Along Andrew, who is a New York City based children's musician. And I think the sky's the limit on this show. I'm pretty excited about it. But back to the membership part of that, so that you get that twice a month. And at the moment, it's low cost. It's just $10 a month. And the idea is you are a parent and you want to take nature and science exploration further at home, or you're a teacher and you're looking for ideas, or a homeschooler and you're using it more even like as your curriculum. And we offer scholarships to anyone who needs it. And I'm pretty excited about it. And I think for those folks that are local to in the area where we live, we're adding a lot of in-person offerings as well. I'm taking the lead on it, but are launching a series of sustainability workshops for parents and kids starting in June, to start to figure out how to live our lives a little differently now that climate change is fully here in this community.
Definitely. Well, I'm pretty excited about it too. It's cool to hear from you. And what people might have realized from listening to this show is that I'm not very science minded, but I always love science. So I always that was always my favorite one of my favorite classes, if not my favorite class, until we got to honors biology, ninth grade. So like in the age demographic that you guys sing to, I would be like all about it. So now I try to keep it as simple as I can while also trying to understand how it works. I'm one. What was that?
I'm right there with you on that, actually.
Yeah. I'm wondering how long it took for you two to go from like getting back together or getting together and forming this idea. It's like, hey, we want to spend our time creating art, educating people about science, engaging with kids. From being in I imagine you both came to Boulder with a job. How long did it take for you to kind of just go full on into this and have it sustain your lifestyles?
Do you want to answer?
4 years.
I was going to say 3. 2008 to 2011.
2007 to 2011.
Okay. 4 for him, 3 for me.
And that's just working every weekend, getting your name out there. How did that work?
We did.
Not an intentional. It wasn't like we're trying to get this to the point where we can.
Totally.
It was more like I was working for the Thorn Ecological Institute at the time, now Thorn Nature Experience, going into classrooms with like bins of worms and teaching first graders about decomposition, and doing shows on the weekends, like you said, birthday parties. And
yeah, we did a lot of birthdays. We did a lot of birthday parties. Just in case anyone's curious, we don't do birthdays anymore. We do get asked occasionally, but we do birthday videos that are tailored to your children.
Mm-hmm.
But we did a lot of birthdays and a lot of library shows, and like Ethan, back then it would be like, oh, like we just made $200. Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of money.
It was really exciting.
Yeah.
And we didn't have kids. We had roommates. It was a different lifestyle. And then slowly the work picked up. Right?
Yeah, got enough offers where we both decided to take the leap in 2011 and make it our full-time business. And yes, definitely a lot of changes along the way of making it from a passion into a business, and keeping that combination, and then making it financially viable as well, to the point where we could be parents to
and that's not
Boulder.
Like a finished thing either.
No.
It's good. Actually, something you just said, Ethan, made me realize, what else would we do if it was all worked out? What else would I do if I just knew that we could make enough money doing this for the rest of our lives?
Probably go hiking.
I'd go hiking.
Hey, well, $200 is a whole lot of worms. You could buy a lot of worms with that money.
Yeah.
So it could go a far way.
There was so much though for us, especially, neither of us are business majors. Like we didn't have any business background. And so yeah, I mean, a lot of what I do at this point with my day-to-day that's not performing is marketing and strategy and how to scale and how to retire someday. And we'd really love to send our kids to college. What does that look like? So that's the part that sometimes I have doubt about, although mostly not. But just you were saying, taking a passion into a full-time job, it does have consequences for that passion. And I think where we always have the magic is performing also our live at home show. And we were just recording last weekend. We hired a babysitter and went for a whole day to Denver and recorded the first round on our new album. And it was like, oh, right. this is why we do this. Oh, right. Like, it just juicy and fun and no children bothering us, ironically.
Could you make the title of this episode $200 is a whole lot of worms?
$200 is a whole lot of worms. You're saying that, I'm thinking, no real estate marketing. I'm just listening to other people talk about what they do. That's me, right? That's me right now.
This is your like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. I have a great question that I think that it could be really interesting. I'm wondering what working with children all the time has taught you about how you should live your own lives and what's most important in life.
Oh my, it's okay. So we've got, this is the time of year, especially coming out of another pandemic winter, that I get so excited because it's live event season. And we fall behind a little on some of the business planning and email stuff, but that means we're doing more shows and connecting with more kids. So once we have a show tomorrow. It's going to be a beautiful day. There's going to be a lot of people there. And when I get up on stage, it just brings out this like goofy part of myself that just is willing to be really silly and childlike. And I love when that comes out and the kids bring it out and they fuel it. And yeah,
I think, wasn't the question about our own kids?
No, that's no.
Okay.
We can get to that next.
Oh, I lost the thread on the question.
No,
sorry.
working with kids.
What are you talking about?
What does working with kids teach you about how you should live your own life? I'd make the argument that energy that's the real you, man. That's the you want to be, the silly guy. Forget about society. Kids don't care about society. They care about what's going on immediately around them, you know?
Presence, for sure.
Yeah.
Presence is a huge part of the lesson there. And playfulness and remembering to just be silly for the heck of it, or for no reason. Let's like right now, Ethan, are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Get out your Bobcat claws. Get out your
Bobcat claws. All right.
Yes.
And then you're sharpening monologue faster. So they're razor sharp for hunting. Show me your teeth for ripping meat because you're a carnivore. And let's hear your snarl.
I snorted, but close enough.
that comes out, and that's something I want to be doing.
That's the thumbnail right there.
Oh yeah. And that right there is a perfect example of like what Paige brings and has always brought, and why we started working together too, because I'm sitting here with a guitar trying to sing and play, and she is getting children moving and doing all these kinesthetic bits that allow us to present songs that, maybe 50, maybe 100% of the audience has never heard. And we can make those into performance pieces that appeal to children, even though they might have no idea what we're actually singing about.
Which actually I wanted to mention too. We don't dumb it down, as a phrase you hear, but we just go for it with the science and this is an invertebrate and this is a beaver and this is a keystone species and chemosynthesis. That's the word that you use to describe when a snake smells with its tongue. And that's kind of
thumbnail.
That's intentional. We intentionally are just presenting the science and then using rhyme and movement so that kids are learning that science, even if they say chemosynthesis later and have no idea what that means. We think that there's value in that. And then I've recently got the compliment from 2 different people that their children who are either in high school or college have been able to tell their peers and or pass their exam because they remembered a Jeff and Paige song. So that's awesome. Pretty full circle amazingness in terms of the educational aspect of what we do.
Well, it's not just full circle with you. It's kind of full circle with the way humanity has traditionally learned things. I mean, we were a culture for thousands of years that passed things down through oral tradition. So there's something to be said about writing a song to remember things. I remember there was that Hannah Montana episode where she made a song about all the different bones in people's body. I still remember that from.
Can you sing it for us? Can you?
No, I just remember the theme. No, it's not that I can't sing it. It's I actually don't remember it. I can't even remember a single song that she sang. I know like "Party in the USA," but that's like post Hannah Montana.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Put your hands up. They're playing your song.
Right. So the hands up, playing my song,
Very
butterflies
nice.
fly away. And then if we ask you guys, we know where the butterflies are flying to and why. So yeah, in regards to your own kids, I was just wondering if they ever like get jealous that they always see you like giving all of your attention to all these other kids all the time.
Yeah, that's been tricky. It's been
It's
trickier
tricky.
than we ever imagined. I think there was this dreamy illusion that, because we performed for a long time as Jeff and Paige when we did not have kids. And there was definitely on my part, I don't know about on yours, Jeff, an idealization of like, oh, look at the cute kids and like the mommies and daddies. And it's so adorable. And I'm going to do that someday. and like, they're so, I don't know, they have tutus on, they're so cute. And then like having our own kids is not cute at all. We love them so much, but there was this idea, oh, I'm just going to have a baby and I'm just going to be wearing the baby and singing and dancing. And I tried that like twice and it was the worst performance of my life. Not because from the outside it looked bad, but because from the inside it felt awful. Because I often ask people like, do you like to bring your kids to work? You don't have kids, Ethan, so you can't answer, but the answer is no. It's not really a great meshing of, I guess I'll just speak for myself. There may be people who do it well, of having our kids at events. So in the end, this is a long-winded way of saying we don't bring them to many of our events. And we're hopeful that as they get older, like our son, his name is Wolf and he is 7, like this might be the summer where he can come to an event and have a role, like work the merch table. And I think he might be into it, but he's 7. And when he was 2, no, he did not enjoy coming to our shows. Yes. He was very upset.
Do you remember when like, if we'd put rainbow socks on our signature? Oh my gosh,
yeah, here. I wore mine too.
So if I would put the rainbow socks on when I was getting ready, he would stop. He would cry because he knew we were leaving. And he would stop calling me Dad. He would call me Jeff. Because he knew us as when these went on, he knew that we were in Jeff and Paige mode. And I think that speaks to like, because we were no longer available just in
we weren't a parent. We weren't the parent anymore.
We were in show mode. Yeah. And when they come to a show, even if they have a sitter, our daughter's 2, so it's a little different for her, but they are respectful during the show, but before and after, like they immediately glom on to us. And it's beautiful, but it makes it very difficult for us to.
I wouldn't call it beautiful.
Continue. It's.
I mean, I know there's a beauty there.
It's different. Yeah, we can't interact, and like there's the show itself, but then there's the beginning and the end. We're not backstage in a green room, and we're not finishing the show and like, retreating to our trailer. We're immediately coming out into the audience, interacting with the kids,
which is something that's different about the way we perform too. We make ourselves very available. At the end of a show, it's like, come say hi. We are happy to give a hug or a high five. And it's this beautiful moment of getting to connect with these kids that love us. And then if our kid's there, that's basically impossible. And that's when the jealousy starts. Like, it's like, I can remember Wolf. We haven't brought Alice to as many shows, probably because of the pandemic, but Wolf being like, get off my mom.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you two have been really easy to interview at the same time, I've got to say, because I love that you guys could like bounce off of each other. I think that's great. Do either of you have any like final pieces of advice for young folks who are just passionate about building a better world and kind of manifesting what they want to see in life? And I'd also love to get a closing song after you guys give some advice.
It's gonna be a tough choice.
Do you want to give any advice to that question?
Yes.
I have something too.
Yes, I want to. 2 things actually. One, I want to just touch back on a lot of what we said, and just to go like, if you have a similar revelation about how something needs to change, go easy on the people that took you to where you are. Like I caused a lot of strife in my own family by, deciding that the way I was brought up was wrong. Exactly. In my mid-20s. And then I'll veer away from that and say, on a practical level, like, if you are passionate, say environmental issues or sustainability, like, you don't have to do
or
a
social
full,
justice or any of these things that are the things of our time.
Yeah, you don't have to you don't have to become like a lobbyist or a performance artist who focuses on, like, I think you are an amazing example, Ethan. You're doing realty, but you are, donating that portion of the proceeds back into a cause that's important to you. Or maybe you're a chef and you choose differently about where or how you source your ingredients because of how you feel. Or and
you cannot be too hard on yourself, because you cannot find the fork, like going back to the fork metaphor of me, literally with the fork, like you're alive, you have an impact on the planet, and you'll have to make choices that don't feel like they're 100% within your ethical and moral compass. And that is absolutely part of just being alive. And that's just not how life works. It's not black and white.
Yeah.
I want to add my piece of
advice. Pick up a spoon, I think is what you're saying.
Or eat with your hands.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we didn't go there, but that was definitely part of it too. It's like, what do you do? Do you go all the way back to living alone in the woods? Mm-hmm. Actually, that kind of connects with my last closing piece of advice. If it's the pendulum swing, like the pendulum is like, I'm living alone in a cave or a hut, and I'm, I have zero ecological footprint, but I'm alone, and what am I doing then? Is that a benefit to humanity? Or is it I'm living in community, I'm joyful, I'm offering my best gifts to the world, I'm dealing with other people on a daily basis, and that's the pendulum swing. And that was like the fork all the way to
beautiful
where I am now. And on that note, my piece of advice is find a community. Don't do it alone. These ideas, whether they're environmental or socially oriented or diversity oriented or politically oriented, they can be divisive and isolating. Find a community, find people to talk to, and when you get down in the dumps, call those people, and it will shift everything for you. And that's how you and I and all of us together will make it through.
No doubt. Ooh. Jeff and Paige, this has been awesome. I'm inspired by what you do. I really love your energy. That's what made me really excited to have you on the show. Thanks so much for taking some time. Excited to see where you continue to go and just impacting people all the time, whether they're children or inspiring parents or other entrepreneurs or performers. I think it's great. And I'd love to get a little song to sign off here, if possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like we should do something from superheroes.
That's what I want to.
He's the climate change
let's do 21st century energy superheroes.
That one, or Time Has Come?
No, we already did a soft one. Let's do it. Yeah. So this album is called 21st Century Energy Superheroes, Songs, Science, and Solutions for a Changing Climate. And it's a story in the album. You can find it on all the places, like including our website. There. But Spotify and all that as well. It streams in all the places. And this is a song that's all about solutions. And when we have kids do this song, we say, let me see your dance moves.
You want to stand superhero.
Up? Nah, I'm okay. Although, yeah.
That's funny. During our shows, she does not allow me to sit down when we're doing the songs.
You mean?
This is a special occasion. The Climate Change Realty Podcast. We're chilling. We're vibing.
Yeah.
All right, this one goes out to all the energy superheroes of today.
And tomorrow. Ooh, very important to note, too, that it's not about you're a superhero, it's that we are superheroes. So I'm not telling the kids, hey, everything's messed up, so can you go deal with it? I'm like, we, together, as a community, as adults, as children, all right, we're doing it.
We're going to do it. One goes out to anyone who's doing a little something in their own lives to save some energy.
You might be growing your own garden,
riding a bicycle, or carpooling or walking if possible,
taking the bus. Maybe you have solar panels on your house or in your community.
turning out lights when you're done using them.
There's so many ways to save energy, and here's a whole bunch more. Let me see your dance moves. Yeah, there you go, Ethan.
It's a classic.
Yes, you are 21st century energy superheroes.
That's all of us.
The planet is secure when a superhero like you is near. Oh, yeah. The sun and the wind are your superpowers.
To brighten up your layers.
And to heat up your showers. Your supermobiles have a
basket with flowers.
Feel the wind as it blows. We're looking for a couple more 21st century energy superheroes.
Let's see those dance moves.
Well, our superhero motto:
the planet is priceless.
Our solar power Paige will report every crisis. Climbing through the subterranean manholes.
Equipping all the buildings with solar panels.
Wind turbines and gray water channels. Planting seeds in rows. We're looking for a couple more 21st century energy superheroes. More?
Do one more verse.
Okay.
Moving on.
It was early one morning.
And our pager was beeping.
Beepo bobble, beepo bobble. It was a planetary crisis while the city was sleeping. Too much gasoline from the cars was gooshin'. They said bicycles are a simple solution, and now bikes rule the road. We're looking for a couple more 21st century energy super, 21st century energy super, 21st century energy superheroes.
Hey, Ethan, thanks for being a 21st century energy superhero.
You got it, Paige. What a legendary podcast. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to come on the show. One more pitch. Where can people find you? Where can people find everything you're doing?
So if you've never heard us before and you want to check out our music, you can go to our website, jeffandpaige.org. You can also find us on all major streaming platforms. We happen to have a podcast of our own as well called Backstage with Jeff and Paige that streams on all the major streaming services. And if you want to check out our membership, members.jeffandpaige.org.
Or come find us at a show.
Yeah, if you live.
Or if you know where we live, you can knock on our door.
Knock on the door. Actually, that'd be weird. Please don't.
Hey. I've only done that a couple 10,000, 20,000 times. But but yeah, cool. Jeff and Paige, thanks so much for the time. And everybody else, we will see you on the next one. Peace out. Take it easy.
Bye, Ethan.
Be a superhero. Woohoo! So if you or anyone else you know is looking to buy or sell a home anywhere in the USA and would like to create thousands of dollars in donations without any cost out of pocket, please visit ccrealty.org today.